Okay, let's get real. Before Google and YouTube taught us how to do literally everything with tutorials, before TikTok told us we've been folding shirts wrong our whole lives, we had educational shows teaching us about science, how to read, and just how to be a good person. These were not just any show, these were heavy hitters, the icons, the show that made you think, wait, am I actually learning right now? Or maybe you didn't even know you were learning because they were tricking us all into learning without our knowledge. One minute you're watching Jimmy Neutron and the next you're in the green reading group now because you know word good. Or maybe you're watching a teacher take a school bus straight into her students' bloodstream without their consent too many times and acting like that's a totally normal field trip. What really hits now looking back is how much these shows actually stuck with many of us today. There were shows actively shaping how we thought, what we got curious about, and even how we treated people. So today I'm going to be talking about Nye The Science Guy, Zoboomafoo, The Magic School Bus, Sesame Street, Cyberchase, Between the Lions, Reading Rainbow, and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Y'all always let me know when I forget one of these shows in the video, so go ahead and drop your comment right now. Let me know what I missed. I might make another video about it. Let's deep dive into the shows that taught us, raised us, and maybe even turned us low-key into geniuses without us even knowing. Some of the best educational shows from our childhood. I wonder which ones still hold up. All right, let's start with the one and only Nye The Science Guy, the blueprint for making science actually cool.
Nye The Science Guy.
Now, for me, Nye was absolutely the go-to classroom show, where your teacher was tired of doing their regular old spiel. They rolled the cart in with the huge TV. Before the show was even on, your whole classroom was starting to shout, Bill, 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 Bill. The day was saved. I mean, every episode was a roller coaster of experiments, wild editing, goofy sketches, and real science. It was like MTV meets science textbook, and somehow it worked perfectly. I mean, he made concepts like gravity, chemical reactions, or volcanoes not just understandable, but completely fun. And let's be real, the theme song, come on, like that's like top 10 of all time, easy.
Bill Nye The Science Guy.
It hits immediately, like you hear it and it's like Bill Nye The Science, and you're back in third grade with a Capri Sun in hand and zero worries. Also, I'm pretty sure he won a Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is just a testament to his contribution to showing the world of science and curiosity to students. Science actually was my favorite subject in school. It was never boring to me with or without Bill, but I admire his effort in making science interesting and comprehensible for honestly everyone to understand, not just kids. But here's the thing, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. For me, even though I respected the hell out of Bill, when I was at home, I think Mythbusters had my heart. No shade to Bill, all right, stop doing it. No shade to Bill though. Dude has done amazing work educating kids and sparking a love of science across generations, but Mythbusters had explosions, duct tape, and questionable safety practices, and explosions. Like, check out my previous video on Mythbusters here if you haven't already. Still, Bill Nye deserves his crown, a pioneer, a legend, and a guy who made bow ties way cooler than they had any right to be. All right, next up, let's talk about Zoboomafoo. Let me tell you, the show was my jam. I mean, when I was like little, like really little, like sippy cup era little. All right, first off, so what has happened to theme songs nowadays? These theme songs for these shows slap. As I'm like going back and like writing for this video, I'm like listening to all the theme songs and remembering them. I feel like we barely have theme songs today that really like hit, especially theme songs with words. They're mostly like music, if the show even has theme songs. Anyway, you have the Crap Brothers, basically the most wholesome animal dudes on TV. And then he had Zubu, the lemur, the legend, the absolute chaos gremlin of the animal kingdom. I loved any show that involved animals, which probably, as most kids did, every kid probably wanted to be a veterinarian. Teaching kids about animals felt like a requirement because as a new person on this earth, I've seen maybe 2 animals at this time in my life. So now you're telling me that there's this thing called an elephant and it's how big? Also, I genuinely didn't know that there were 2 Zoboomafoo's. Like, one was a puppet and the other one was a real lemur. I guess that's the Zubu. I thought it was just like one magical hyperactive dude who could just do everything. Like, yeah, he talks and jumps, eats bananas, educates kids all in a day's work. Didn't even question it. The show had this magical feel where animals would just show up into the clubhouse and we get to look at cool stuff like why frogs are slimy, or how kangaroos work, or what a platypus even is. Apparently they don't do much. That's a Phineas and Ferb reference from my last video talking about Disney Channel shows. But Zubu was the glue, the comic relief, the buddy who freaked out with joy whenever a new animal showed up. It felt like you were hanging out with the animals too and somehow learning along the way. Now looking back, Zoboomafoo was kind of like Steve Irwin Jr. edition. It sparked a real love for animals in the way that felt fun, not preachy, with a theme song that activated me like the Winter Soldier.
Let's go, me and you and Zoboomafoo.
It was just pure vibes, a lemur, two brothers, a bunch of animals, and somehow it all worked beautifully. But now let's talk about a show that took field trips to a whole nother level.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip. With a friend? No way!
Other classes went to the zoo, but Mrs. Frizzle, she illegally took our kids inside a volcano into outer space and straight up shrunk them so that they could go swimming in someone's bloodstream on a random Tuesday with no permission slips. And the wildest part was no one questioned it. Like, oh yeah, we're just casually getting baked into a pie so we can understand baking chemistry. No big deal. Makes sense to me. If this happened in real life, parents would revolt, but it didn't happen in real life. It's a show and people loved it and I like it and it's iconic and it's part of the cultural zeitgeist. Every episode was an absolute fever dream, but underneath all the chaos, you were learning real science, biology, astronomy, physics, you name it. It wasn't just educational, it was imaginative, immersive, of course, kind of insane in the best way. And Miss Frizzle, easily a top tier TV teacher. She was fearless, she was funny, she had drip for days, and her catchphrases like take chances, make mistakes, get messy was basically a life mantra before we even knew what a mantra was. Also, respect to the school bus itself. That thing had more transformation than Transformers, changing sizes like Ant-Man himself, a submarine done, a spaceship no problem, literal robot, dinosaur probably happened. The magic school bus made learning feel like an adventure, not a chore. And even though some of those episodes definitely broke every rule of biology, physics, and probably the county's department's rule on field trips, we didn't care. We were learning, we were vibing, and we were low-key traumatized by the human digestive system episode, but in a good way. Magic School Bus, of course, has to be on this list. It is a very iconic show, and it is a must-watch if you haven't already. All the characters, all the students had their own kind of thing. I really like this show, but I think this next one is probably a home run hitter, probably everyone's favorites. I don't know if it's my favorite, but we'll get to my favorite soon. But yeah, you already knew this next one had to be on this list. Sesame Street. It is basically the kingpin of educational TV. It didn't just teach us the ABCs, it rewired our toddler brains to love learning before we could even spell sesame. The show is massive, like generational impact, worldwide icon status. It's been around since the 60s and it's still going strong. That's not just longevity, that's like cultural immortality. You had a whole squad of unforgettable characters: Elmo, Cookie Monster, Oscar the Grouch, Big Bird, Burton, Ernie, Grover, the Count, and somehow every one of them was iconic in their own way. I believe these characters are technically extensions of like the Muppets in the Muppets universe, and oddly enough, I consider the Muppets and the characters on Sesame Street to be real, but that's for another video. Even if you haven't watched Sesame Street in decades, they're still part of the social zeitgeist. Elmo trends on Twitter regularly, does collabs with YouTube channels. Cookie Monster has been a meme format. I'm surprised he doesn't have his own flavor of Oreo cookies. Oscar is the original grumpy influencer. These characters have lived on through merch, memes, parodies, and vibes alone. And the cameos? Literally insane. Everyone has been on Sesame Street. Beyonce, Robin Williams, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Michelle Obama, Bruno Mars, Dave Grohl, freaking Metallica. At this point, it's basically a rite of passage for celebrities. You're not really famous till you helped Elmo count to 5 or find his lost goldfish or something. Also, shout out to Mr. Noodle. Y'all remember Mr. Noodle, the dude that had me stressed out as like a 5-year-old? He was like Elmo's friend who lived in like his closet. Now that I'm describing it, it sounds crazy. Like, bro, the toothbrush is right there. He was always trying to find his stuff. He was always losing things. Pure slapstick energy. Low-key, one of the greatest side characters of all time. That is until Rocco started showing up in annoying Elmo. But for real, Sesame Street didn't just teach us letters and numbers. It taught inclusion, empathy, diversity, and how to be a decent human being. It handled real-life topics like grief, disabilities, race, and even homelessness with more care than most adult media today. It's more than a show, it's a legacy, and even if we don't watch it anymore, Sesame Street still lives in all of us. Also, can someone please tell me how to get to Sesame Street, please? I need to know. Send the address. I know the address is like 123 Sesame Street, but where, bro? Is it in New York? Whatever. All right, next show. Let's talk about Cyberchase, the most slept on math-based sci-fi epic ever made for kids. Cyberchase was like if The Matrix was rated G and had talking birds and decimals and was animated. You got 3 kids, Jackie, Matt, and Inez, who are zapped into cyberspace where they're constantly battling this goofy but weirdly intimidating villain named Hacker, voiced by Christopher Lloyd, yeah, the guy who plays Doc from Back to the Future. Their mission to save digital worlds using, you ready for this? Using math. Yes, math. How exciting. And not in a boring worksheet way. They'd use angles, fractions, graphs, or logic puzzles to escape each trap, fix tech, or outsmart Hacker. And listen, I know it sounds nerdy on paper. It's very nerdy. Yes, it is. But the show kind of slapped. And maybe I'm just saying that because I like math and I work in the tech field, but the animation was solid, the worlds were colorful and creative, and the stakes were always high. It made problem solving feel like a superpower, if that makes sense. Also, let's talk about Digit, Robot Bird, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. That casting alone deserves an award. He was annoying, hilarious, and somehow the glue of the team. Cyberchase didn't just teach math, it taught critical thinking, which is very important skill, like how to break stuff down, stay calm, and solve problems creatively. It made logic feel exciting. I mean, does it still hold up? Sure. If you rewatch it now, it's kind of brilliant how much they packed into each episode without ever making it feel like a lesson. So is Cyberchase a good show? Yes. Is it one of my favorites? Me personally, no. I do like science and math and computers, so it would appeal to me, but out of all the shows on this list, it's not one of my favorites. My favorite is actually this next show, which moves from numbers to words. It's called Between the Lions.
Hey now, hey wow, here's how. Come and read Between the Lions.
Yeah, this is my favorite out of all the shows on this list. It ran for 10 seasons on PBS Kids from 2000 to 2010 and won multiple Daytime Emmy Awards over the course of its run. The target audience was from around 5 to 8 years old. There was just something about it. The vibe was like controlled chaos in a library, but in the best possible way. You had a lion family running the joint, puppet side characters coming in hot with energy, and what honestly felt like a collection of skits stitched together, but somehow it worked perfectly. Each and every section was different, but interesting and taught you a different reading skill. I mean, it would be something like BALL for a ball, but then you drop the B, add a C, now it's called. Yeah, you get it, stuff like that. And also, there's one moment that as soon as I knew I was adding the show to my list that like lives rent free in my head till this day. The little guy hanging from the cliff, I think his name is Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger, hanging from a cliff, and that's why he's called Cliffhanger.
Excuse me! Excuse me!
We find Cliffhanger where we left him last, hanging from a cliff.
Can't hold on much longer.
I think he finally gets rescued from hanging from the cliff, but he ends up on another cliff.
Escape at last.
This is as easy as falling out of bed. Uh-oh.
And that's why he's called Cliffhanger.
That was so funny to me. That was peak comedy. I'll probably put a video here just so you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's legendary. I don't even remember what the point was anymore, but the delivery was iconic. The show was visually and verbally clever, super creative with like its wordplay, and it had one of the most slept on theme songs. I think this theme song was catchy, fun, and totally aligned with this mission of making reading cool. It made letters and phonics feel like a party. The theme song itself needs to be on like Rap Genius's website just to get a breakdown on what they did. And here's the twist. My wife says that I don't like reading anymore now, but I did love reading as a kid. And honestly, I like to think that Between Lions is a big part of the reason why. It was fun, goofy, clever, and secretly brilliant. It's an absolute gem and a great show, and I highly recommend that if some of you out there have kids, that you show them this show. I think they like it. Also, with Between the Lines being a reading show, there was another reading show called Reading Rainbow with the guy from Star Trek, LeVar Burton. The show was a calm, cozy, book-loving energy that hit completely different. I'm sure if you still love to read as an adult, then you'd still like the show. LeVar Burton was the coolest host of all time, just vibing in beautiful scenery, talking about books like they were magical portals. The purpose of the show was to encourage a love of books and reading among children, and over its tenure from 1983 to 2006, the series garnered over 200 broadcast awards, including a Peabody Award and 26 Emmy Awards, 10 of which were in the Outstanding Children's Series category. This is one show that doesn't hide what its intentions were, unlike other educational shows like maybe The Magic School Bus or Sesame Street, where it might not be exactly clear what you'd be learning about, but Reading Rainbow made it clear with its name alone. It's about reading and a little bit more than that. But each episode centers on a topic from a featured children's book that is explored through a number of on-location segments or stories. The show also recommends books for children to look for when they go to their local library. And honestly, Reading Rainbow didn't just recommend books, it made you want to read them. Like, you'd see a story about a kid on another planet or animals solving mysteries and immediately start plotting your next library run, or wait till the Scholastic Book Fair came to town and you knew what you'd be getting already. In those mini documentary segments, one second it's a book about bread, the next you know you're watching how bakeries work, a book about bugs, and boom, real bug experts showing off stick insects and talking camouflage. It blended imagination with reality so smoothly. But the best part, these were the original Goodreads, straight from the source, no fancy vocabulary, just pure unfiltered book hype from other fellow young readers like ourselves at the time. Plus, the theme song is a certified classic, you know it, Butterfly in the Sky. I think it's like a trending song on TikTok right now. Instant nostalgia boost. But Reading Rainbow was wholesome, empowering, and made reading feel like an adventure you could go on anytime. And another show that just comforted us was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the show that taught you how to be a kind, emotionally stable person, one cardigan at a time. The show ran from 1968 to 2001, which also surprised me. Mr. Rogers had the calm, warm energy that no other show could match, almost like he was kind of whispering during the whole show. He wasn't trying to entertain you with explosions or puppets doing backflips. He was just trying to help you understand the world one feeling at a time. His intro song, which he sang himself, is so calming, and he nailed it. I mean, Rogers covered a broad range of topics over the years, and the series did not shy away from issues that other children's programming avoided. In fact, Rogers endeared himself to many when on March 23rd, 1970, he dealt with the death of one of his pet goldfish. The series also dealt with competition, divorce, and war. Rogers returned to the topic of anger regularly and focused on peaceful ways of dealing with anger, feelings, just heavy stuff, but he always handled it in such a way that had so much care and respect. He treated kids like people, not just short adults who like cartoons. And the land of make-believe, underrated. The place had lore, there was puppet feuds, royal dilemmas, existential crises, just straight up soap opera energy with sock puppets. What's cool too is that Mr. Rogers technically has a spiritual successor in a show called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. It's animated, a bit more modern, and focuses on new generation stuff. Obviously, that makes sense. It's a new generation of kids, but it carries the same heart. I watched an episode and it's not bad, honestly. I didn't know it was related to Mr. Rogers until I realized that Daniel Tiger is, I guess, one of the characters in the show. Mr. Rogers was more than just a moment, more than just a show. It was a life lesson wrapped in a sweater, and it hit different. So there you have it. 8 legendary shows that didn't just entertain us, they raised us, taught us, nurtured us, from chaotic science and talking animals to reading, rhyming, and real emotional growth. These shows each brought something totally unique to help make us well-rounded adults. What's wild is they made us smarter without us feeling like they were giving us homework. That's the magic. You're sitting there in your childhood living room, cereal in hand, and somehow you're absorbing biology, math, literature, and how to be a decent human being all before 12 p.m. noon. If you had any of these in your childhood rotation, you had it good. So let me know which show was your favorite. Let me know which ones I missed. I know you're already gonna let me know in the comments. My favorite, like I said, is Between the Lions, but Sesame Street may be a close second. Go ahead and hit that like button down below for Miss Frizzle and subscribe so you never miss another nostalgic breakdown. All right, class dismissed. See you guys later.